This is Daddy-O from the legendary hip-hop band Stetsasonic. I only touch greatness. You're going to be checking out the Conversations with Chad, because I only touch greatness right here.
Yeah, the mayor of C-Town, Ryan Hayes, and his big name guest.
You on the radio, talking about rap, saying all that about how we sample, giving examples.
Think we'll let you get away with that? You criticize our method of how we make records. You said it wasn't art, so now we're gonna rip you apart.
Speaking of a girl named Susie. Speaking of a girl named Susie. Speaking of a girl named Susie, said she'd do anything to soothe me. Take off clothes or put them back on. Ain't that right? Wild them out. And Daddy-O
do a crime,
end up in jail and gotta go.
Cause you could do crime and get paid today,
And tomorrow you're behind bars in the worst way.
far from your family.
Cause you're locked away.
Now tell me,
Do you really think crime pays?
scheming on taking what your brother had?
You little sucker. You talking all that
Roy
shit.
and Big Pun in their prime there. Tupac, Biggie, and Big L do a crime there. DJ Doc Nice, aka Buff. Don't you think that it's enough? Even Guru. Too poetic, I remember standing next to me. It also broke my heart about Houdini's ecstasy. Black Rob, I don't believe he's DMX. Hard to believe he's ODB. Please don't tease me. Bring him back to life. What we want easy. Jam Master Jay, it was hard to hear. Greg Mack, he put the flavor in my ear. And the man named Dog coming from the west side. Shock G, who brought that Humpty Hump ride. And the world's most educated rapper, MD. And Mr. Magic's rap attack and what it meant to me.
I'm coming with the bomb, so watch me begin to explode and unload like the Grand Funk Railroad. Non-stop like a vet with a soft top. It's 93 and I'm coming for my props. And what better ways than to bounce so you can get paid by the pound and more for the funkin' ounce. It's the Brooklyn sway, and as I let the music play, I wouldn't have it any other way. And if it sounds like something you heard before, it's all the more reason to get on the dance floor and rock with the play-by-play I announce of the Brooklyn bounce.
Brooklyn, where they mouse.
Come on, this is the way.
Brooklyn, Brooklyn mouse.
Daddy works in a rock and roll band.
Yep.
Daddy works in a rock and roll band. Daddy works in a rock and roll band. He's a drummer man.
Here we go. Running the street, ain't even had kids. Pray for the folks, can't even have kids. I'm being watched and people saying,
He's a drummer.
cause I'm kicking snares the whole summer. Then I had kids, made me a sharpshooter. Mace left cooler, Shauna left looter. I'm hitting cymbals and toms so people saying,
He's a drummer man.
like Biggie said, it's in the plan. Did a crash course, but didn't crash course. Might have took a loss, but I ain't never lost. Rapid fire repeat and people saying,
He's a drummer man.
good for my kids, but I ain't playing.
Daddy works in a rock and roll band.
Yep.
Daddy works in a rock and roll band. Daddy works in a rock and roll band. He's a drummer man.
Oh, Dad.
You're tuning into I Only Touch Greatness podcast, Vancouver's best show with Ryan Hayes.
Often imitated but never duplicated, I Only Touch Greatness podcast with Ryan Hayes.
Looking for the most beers on tap?
Great steaks, great staff. Head over to the John B.
The John B Pub, the best bar in town. Say Hayes sent you.
Scan the code and follow. Often imitated but never duplicated, I Only Touch Greatness podcast with Ryan Hayes.
I Only Touch Greatness podcast, Vancouver's best show with Ryan Hayes.
There you are.
Legend, by the way, I'm Ryan up here in Vancouver, Canada. It's nice to meet you.
What's up, Ryan?
How you doing? I'm joined with Chad Kaiser, and he's in Kentucky. He's the one that hooked us all up.
Oh, that's what's up.
What's going on, man?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
I'm straight.
And we're also joined in Kansas City with Prince Allen.
Prince Allen, Royalty New Rules on TikTok and IG. Well, Royalty 816. So, it's an honor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Perfect. Might as well just jump right into this. Born in New York, What was childhood like for you growing up?
I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn. So it's funny nowadays people, use the word street real light. I really grew up in the street. So, it was tough, it was tough, but it was also, it was a lot of love in the household. 3 forms of music in my household. My music, my brothers and sisters' music, and my parents' music. So, I was able to kind of hear a plethora of things when I was growing up. And music was an escape. Music definitely was an escape. So in the late 70s, when cats started bringing like equipment out in the park, it definitely was an escape from sticking people up. We got to the music. I mean, when we were younger, everybody was kind of doing a little bit of the like singing group kind of thing, like almost not all the way doo-wop, but just, kind of mimicking like Black Ivory and Blue Magic and the Stylistics, like that kind of thing. Like when we were younger, like I'm talking about like 12, 13, you know what I mean? And then, teenage years, we got ruddy, start picking up guns and all that. And then like right at the tip of them teenage years was when pre-hip hop came. It wasn't even hip hop. It was just pre-hip hop because it's really disco in the streets. But it was a change. It was like, you know what I mean? It's a big difference between hearing music in your house and hearing music like with big speakers outside. You know what I mean? So that was just a change, period. If you wanted to be involved, check out girls or whatever. But then, us, a lot of me and my friends, we actually wanted to be involved with it, period. You know what I mean? Like, how are they making that? Like, can we get our own equipment? Like, what is DJing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we started getting into it like that.
So at what age did you want to start taking it serious?
I would say probably in that 16, 17 area, not like record serious. Because I say this all the time, right? One of the things that people don't know is like, nobody rapping wanted to make records, yo. Nobody. Because the formula, if you listen to Run DMC's Here We Go, that was the formula. Now, if you say you hear my rhyme, we're gonna have to fight because I just made the motherfucker up last night. It was always about a new rhyme every night. So nobody wanted to make records because making a record meant the same rhyme played over and over. So I would say seriously in that and starting to rhyme, the record part came a little later. You know what I'm saying? Like that came early 20s. Like that's when the whole formulation of Stetsasonic came and all of that. And I'm like, oh, like we could actually make a group and start making some noise. You know what I mean? Like and even that noise wasn't in the beginning. It wasn't career noise. Right? Even on my second album, you can hear a record I got on my second album called Stet Troop, and you hear me say, some people call me Kareem at work. They call me Glenn. I was on tour last year. This year I'll do it again. Like literally, I was taking a leave of absence from work to go on tour and come back. So it wasn't in our head yet that we could totally get paid and do this as a career.
And who were some of your early influences that you wanted to be like?
So my biggest influence is Lil Rodney C from Funky 4 Plus One More. They made a record. Well, there was tapes in the street anyway, but they, when they end up making records on Enjoy Records with Bobby Robinson, one of the rhymes that Rodney C has says he says another MC when he running down rhymes, but half the time he just running down mine. But that's okay because I know someday I'll put him in check and take his rep away. And I'm like, I want to do that. So Rodney C definitely Melly Mel because of the command. Like the first time I ever saw Mel on stage, I never saw anybody command a crowd like that in my life. And I have been watching bands and all of that my whole life, but watching singers and watching rappers is two totally different things. So, you know what I'm saying? Watching singers grab command because they were like singing high notes or doing dope stuff with harmonies or maybe doing some steps on stage or whatever. But I had never seen anybody do what Mel did, where he just walks on the stage and say, everybody just put your hand in the air and wave. You know what I mean? Like I had never seen that kind of control. So Mel, definitely Kool Moe Dee early days, probably way before you guys knew Moe Dee. Not the how you like me now, Moe Dee. That's not the Moe Dee I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Treacherous 3 Moe Dee, because lyrically he was unmatched. And, you know, although people, you know, have that whole thing in their head about what happened when the records came about and him and LL went into that, the Treacherous 3 Kool Moe Dee was unmatched lyrically. It was only one guy that could touch him back then. It was a cat named Silver Fox. And Fox was dope, but Fox was the only one. And then later on, he had another kind of equal, I don't know if we want to call it equal, but kind of competitor with DLB from the Fearless 4. Because DLB had it, but a lot of guys didn't have that kind of lyrical prowess. We were all party rappers. You know what I mean? And so, you know, the reason that guys like Moe Dee was an influence because they wasn't necessarily party rappers. They was actually making words do acrobatic stuff that we wasn't, because we would just clap your hands, stomp your feet, boogie on down to the Sure Shot beat. And he was way beyond that.
So last one of mine before I shoot it to Chad here. 1981, he started Stetsasonic with Prince Paul. Tell us how that all started and got together.
So Stet started with me and Delight. We used to be part of a religious community together, and we decided to formulate a group. We always knew we wanted to do 3 MCs. It took us a long time to find out who the third MC was going to end up being permanently. I mean, we went through a plethora of guys, but once we started formulating what we were doing, we just started trying to figure out what the other elements of the band was going to be. We ended up becoming a band anyway, but what the elements of the group was going to be. The way we found Paul is there's projects in Brooklyn called the Brevoort Projects, and they do the thing called Brevoort Day. That's where Fab is from. Fab is from Brevoort, and they do a thing called Brevoort Day. But when the summer is happening in New York, like there's block parties in the summer because school is out. There's block parties on the summer, every 2 blocks, every 3 blocks. There's block parties, there's block parties, there's block parties. So Brevoort Day, it was a big block party in the circle. It's always a big joint going on in the circle. But on one of these side blocks, somebody had equipment out. And, you know, it was decent speakers and they was playing. And we heard somebody cutting up that Caravan record, Liquid, that later on, Melly Mel would make white lines off of it. But the person was killing it. And we look over, we see this little dude doing it, and he's smashing it. And that was Prince Paul. He was 17. You know, we asked him to be in a group. We had to get permission from his moms and everything. And then, you know, DBC was a guy that he already was making music, like he already had music. Fuquan and Wise came from the neighborhood, and Bobby came from Brownsville. And that's how we ended up putting it all together.
Okay, Chad, shoot one, bud.
Hey, so Daddy Yo, so being in hip hop as long as you have, and seeing all the different eras that the culture has gone through, in your opinion, what's the best era or the best year of hip hop?
I can only tell you my favorite year. 88 is my favorite year. I don't know if that's the best year. I have conversations with people about what they call golden era all the time. And I say there's possibly more than one golden era, right? Because you could say the golden era when it was me, Chuck, KRS-One, Slick Rick, Dougie, Light, etc. But then what do you call when Wayne was putting out them Fireman tapes? Or what do you call the era of Biggie and Tupac, right? Like it's very difficult to to judge. But for me, it's 88 because it's right after 86 and 87. 86 and 87 is that real emergence that we are serious about making these records. It's no joke now. This is not when Sylvia was doing Rapper's Delight. This is not when Bobby Robinson was putting out those Treacherous 3 records or whatever. These are guys like Stetsasonic and Public Enemy and Slick Rick that are putting KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions that are putting their heart and soul into making a masterpiece, a disc, a real record, a A and a B side real record, right? Getting mastered by Herb Powers and some of the bigger mastering studios and stuff like that. So even sonically, right, we starting to be real serious. And that year, 88, a few of those records, including our In Full Gear that dropped 88, honestly, bro, especially now that I got like Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, even sonically, besides for a handful of guys, those records are unmatched. Just even the way they sound. Yeah, so my favorite year is 88. Yeah, my favorite year is 88.
All right, and so you brought up the In Full Gear album. So when you look at making a masterpiece like that, what goes into making a classic album like In Full Gear in your eyes? Because I know you mentioned the sonics and stuff like that, but you know, what goes into cohesively making a classic masterpiece album like that?
Let's say so again, right? I don't know the process of other groups. I do know a lot about Public Enemy because me and Chuck was kind of connected at the hip. And while we were doing what we were doing, they were doing what they were doing. But then a lot of other groups that was out, I don't really know how they do it. I would say trial, error, and experimentation. That's what I would say. Because, you know, we're experimenting with all types of stuff. Not only speakers in the studio, but you know, outboard gear, what buttons we turning, what echo chambers we're using, even on Fire we mixed to quarter inch. When we did In Full Gear, we mixed to half inch. You know, so a lot of it was us. I'm talking Stetsasonic now. Us kind of cutting out musical teeth. You know, but I say experimentation because you gotta do, like, you gotta try to figure some of that stuff out. Like, you know, what's gonna happen, what's gonna be next, you know, how things are gonna sound. Then later on, what's gonna sequence it, all of those particular things. So, and then study. You know, study is a big thing because, you know, when you're making great records, and I know this just from being a producer, you gotta A and B stuff. You know what I mean? You're gonna listen to some stuff that was already made and kind of A/B your stuff to make sure that it's up to par.
Hey, did no one else hear him?
I can't hear him.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I wasn't talking.
Okay, I was just making sure that wasn't me.
Yeah. So I wanted to switch gears for a second on you, Daddy-O. You've had your hands in quite a few areas outside of hip hop, like the remix work that you did with like Sonic Youth, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Sublime, Barry White even. Tell me about getting involved in those types of projects.
So there's two sides to it. One is there's a woman, she's a movie maker now, still a good friend of mine named Lisa Cortez, that we were all managed by Rush, right? Rush Artist Management. We were all managed by Russell Simmons and Leo Cohen. And Lisa came up with an idea to do this company called RPM, Rush Producers Management, as another stream of income, that she could take the guys that were in the group, myself, Grandmaster D, Jam Master J, God bless the dead, Prince Paul, of course the Bomb Squad that was making the Public Enemy records, and actually, set up a separate stream of income for us to just be producers outside of the groups that we were working with, like the groups that we were in. So that's how it started. The way I ended up working with the alternative groups is because I already knew that music. So when any work came in for the alternative stuff, I always took it because I already was listening to Rock Lobster by the B-52s. I already knew who Sublime was. I already knew who Sonic Youth was. A lot of my peers didn't. Like I always make the joke of having to push Prince Paul to working with Fine Young Cannibals. Like he did the remix to She Drives Me Crazy, but he didn't want to do it. And I was like, Paul, you got to do the Cannibals. You know what I mean? But they wasn't into that music. I was into that music. So that's how I ended up, like working with other genres of music, because most of the other genres of music that I work with, I already was incredibly abreast of. Like even working with Third World, I was already way ahead of working with Third World and Eka Mouse and Daddy Freddie. I was way ahead of the curve because I was a big reggae fan anyway. So most of the work that I've done as a producer, it's even the same way I make records now. Like when you see the features on my records, the features on my records are all my favorite rappers, the guys I love. So you'll see Bun B on my record, you'll see Pasa Noose from De La Soul on my record, but these are the rappers I love. Like I only do records with rappers that I love. Rusty Jukes, you know what I mean? Like these are the guys I love. Andre Nicotina, you know what I'm saying? I love these guys. So I end up, and it's the same way that I work with those particular projects. Like it was stuff that I really, really liked. I already had liked the B-52s way earlier than working with them on Love Shack. I had already liked Red Hot Chili Peppers way earlier than working with them on Higher Ground, et cetera, et cetera.
Prince, you want to shoot one?
Yeah. I'll RP plug too, like seeing, coming from, being a De La Soul fan, like how was it working? Was you in the studio whenever they was doing 3 Feet High and Rising? Like how was
no. So I wasn't in the studio for most of it. Let me tell you. So the De La story goes like this. I'm gonna tell a story, but I like the way Chuck D tells it better. But Chuck's not here right now, so I'll tell a story. So there's a tour. It's a tour called the Def Jam Tour. The top rung of that tour is 2 headliners, LL Cool J and Houdini. Step down from that is Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew. Step down from that, right dead in the middle, is Eric B and Rakim. And then on the lower rung, the last 2 groups that open the tour is Public Enemy and Stetsasonic. Now, everybody that I just mentioned had their own tour bus. But the 2 biggest groups that I just mentioned that opened the show, both that got 6 members plus, shared a bus. So Public Enemy and Stetsasonic are sharing this bus, and 3 albums get written in that bus. In Full Gear by Stetsasonic, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy, and a little DJ by the name of Prince Paul from Long Island is in the back writing 3 Feet High and Rising. So what happens is we get back, we start recording In Full Gear. Paul comes to me one day and plays this record called Plug Tuning and says, what do you think? Because I don't know what it is, but this is, remember the little guys that come in here, because De La used to always come in the studio with us. Most people don't know De La Soul got their name from us, from a B-side of a Stetsasonic record called Rock De La Stet. And that's where they got their name from, De La Stet, De La Soul, right? Excuse me. So he says, yeah, this is, this is Dave and them record that be in the studio with us, that be hanging out in the studio with it. I thought it was amazing. I actually had 3 deals on the table by Monday. Tommy Boy just reacted quicker than everybody else. But you know, it was these guys had a different. First of all, Paul always had that kind of music in him, but it couldn't all work for Stet. You know, a lot of it was too playful, and it wasn't going to work for a Stetsasonic record, being that playful. Even some of the records, you'll hear some of that playful stuff that Paul did for us on pretty much on all the records besides for On Fire, not so much. But on In Full Gear, you got music for the Stepfully Insane. You got Prince Paul's A Sucker on Blood, Sweat, No Tears. Like, you know, he would do that. And you know, in moderation is fine for us, but we just couldn't be that playful with all of the things that we wanted to say. So we did record at the same studio, and I was privy to a few of those sessions, but you know, it wasn't my thing. I'm trying to make Stet records at the same time.
Perfect. Can you tell us about your favorite venue you've ever performed at? Because I know that I've seen a few things, like Chuck D talked about your 2-hour show that you guys did over in, I believe it was Amsterdam?
Paradiso.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Amsterdam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the favorite venue you've ever performed in?
That's hard. That's real hard, but it's probably Brixton Academy. It's probably Brixton Academy in London. I mean, we did do some bigger shows. We did a huge show in Dakar. I don't know how many people that was, maybe 150,000 maybe. And then we did 90,000 at Wembley Arena, and that was nice. But I love rock and roll rooms. There's something totally different about a rock and roll room, right? Like a CBGB's that used to, like, those kind of rooms are just kind of set up, and you know, in a different kind of way. So I love rock and roll rooms. So Wembley is kind of the combination. Wembley is probably the first technical House of Blues type of venue, because that's what they try to do with all the House of Blues venues. They try to give you a big feel, so you almost got a stadium kind of feel, but then you got what you get in the club venue, which is the great monitors and those type of things. But for me, it's probably Brixton Academy.
Okay. And I got to ask you a question about, I got the movie going in the background, CB4. Can you, you were part of the soundtrack, one of the best movies of all time, and soundtracks. I had the soundtrack as a kid. Sweat on my balls and bitches on my dick like a human shish kebab.
Right. Well, my good friend Nelson George, who also helped out with the first Self-Destruction record, was working at that time with a young up-and-coming comedian named Chris Rock. And they wrote this movie, and he came to me and said, hey, man, you know, we got this thing we're doing. We want to involve hip-hop, and a lot of it is very parody. And some of it is NWA parody. We know we want your voice. And then they had to find High C, because it really was supposed to be me and Eazy-E. But it ended up being me and High C. But once they found High C, they found, you know, pretty good a good match for, you know, somebody for Chris Rock, who was High C, somebody for Alan Payne, who was me. And then we got together and we did a few things. And then Mo D did some stuff on that too. That I'm black. That's Kool Mo D.
Biggie Black Girl.
Yeah.
See, I literally just watched this movie with some girl at my house like 2 nights ago. So I had it, I had it queued up, ready to go. We're gonna send her to Chad here.
Yeah, so you just mentioned Self-Destruction. When you guys put that together, take us through the process of putting and getting the likes of Kool Mo D and Heavy D, rest in peace, D Nice, and all the other incredible and legendary artists together in orchestrating that project back in '88?
So for the original Self-Destruction, it came off I don't want to say heels, but it came out of what KRS-One had already going on, which was a Stop the Violence movement. And idealistically, what ended up happening was, there was some deaths that happened. One in particular incident that happened at Nassau Coliseum where a young kid got killed for his chain. And the press was just kind of hurling, Molotov Molotov cocktails at us. Like, you guys are the cause. You guys are the cause of this violence. You guys are the, those particular things. If you remember a little earlier than that, Tribe Called Quest had got us all together for an album cover. I don't know if you remember that album cover with all of us on it.
Midnight Marauders.
The Midnight Marauders thing, right? So we kind of getting everybody together was not that hard. There was a venue in New York named Latin Quarter that most of the artists on that venue, on that song Self-Destruction, used to perform on it. So it wasn't really hard to get us to come together. And once we understood that it was for a cause, I think we all said yes. I like I said, I think one of the most amazing things about that particular project is that some of the people on that record, you didn't expect to be doing those kind of things. You know what I mean? Like, you really didn't expect Hev to spit that. You didn't even really expect Mo D to spit that. I often talk about Red Alert and Marley Marl actually showing some unity in that video, because at that time there was like this little beef between the two of them and those two crews. You know what I mean? So and it was just, it's just us, Just Ice, who you never would have thought would do a record and tell somebody to either stop fighting or putting his gun down or whatever. So that, I think that was probably one of the most amazing things about it. And again, I mean, loosely based, but loosely based on, it's like the hip hop We Are the World. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was that kind of situation. But our issue was totally different than what Michael and Lionel and them sang about.
Yeah, and then now 30 years later, you and Chuck D back with a new project and movement called Stop Self-Destruction. Tell us about this new endeavor with you, Chuck, and everybody else who's going to be a part of this movement.
So Stop Self-Destruction is a movement to combat a little bit. Let me not say a little bit. Let me just put it this way. Stop Self-Destruction is a movement to combat more than we did on the first record. On the first record, violence was our main topic. It's not like violence in the street is not an important thing now, but now we have an opioid crisis. Now we have suicide. I say it all the time. You never thought that you would hear suicide and hip hop in the same sentence. Hip hop was all about life, all about life, all about life. You never thought that some of this sadness and some of this darkness would actually creep in. And so now we have a crisis. And what we would like to do is be a soundtrack, for the people on the street, a soundtrack for the people that's doing the real work. A lot of these people, including like mayors like this guy Warnock that just got elected in Atlanta and Mayor Adams in New York, they don't really have any help. And from what I see, maybe I'm wrong, but from what I see, I don't really see any plans either. Okay, so what happens is, it's where we at Wednesday, Monday, the numbers is going to be crazy. Shoot, the numbers in Kansas City is crazy right now. You understand? When I say numbers, I mean murder numbers, the shooting numbers, right? So what we want to do is lend an ear to what needs to be. We want to put the eyeballs and the ears. How Chuck say it? Chuck says people see with their eyes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he ain't never lied, because I never forget, I was dealing with a young person one time when I was doing A&R, and I asked them, did they hear a record? And the young person answered me and said, yeah, I saw that video.
Yeah.
And so he ain't never lied. Like people see what, hear with their eyes. So what we want to do is lend light and awareness on these particular situations, whether it be, teen pregnancy or whatever, so that people can understand what's going on. Undemonize the kids, because the kids are being demonized. Undemonize the kids. I say this all the time. These kids are not demons. They might be doing some demonic shit, but they're not demons. And make a very clear point that you're gonna hear Daddy-O talk about all the time. We are absentee fathers in hip hop. Because if Young Thug is not my son, then whose son is he? Kenny Rogers' son? Bob Marley's son? No, maybe John Bon Jovi's son. No, these are our sons. So they might be doing something crazy, but the bottom line is that now we got to go back. I don't know if you saw, I don't know if y'all saw this or not. I'm an old man. The Stallone just had put out a series called Tulsa King.
Oh yeah, I love that show.
Oh
yeah,
okay.
That
so
shows,
you see how he had to get back with his daughter? You see how he had to get back with his daughter?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how we got to get back with them. You see how long it took? Because he was away for so long. In the beginning, she ain't want nothing to do with him. You understand what I'm trying to say? But then you got to work your way back in. So we have a job to do. One of the things that we're doing with this, even through the records, is uniting that. So like we've already got a record finished that we waiting for Toby and Wigway to mix, but it's Toby and Wigway, Chuck D, Daddy-O, Big Crit, Westside Boogie. See how that works?
Damn.
That's 3 generations of hip hop.
Hell yeah, that's dope.
You know what I'm saying? That's 3 generations of hip hop. Westside younger than Toby. Then comes Toby. Then comes Crit. Then comes Daddy-O and Chuck. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's what we want to do. We want to not only unite it on records, but I want to get people together, period, to talk. You know what I mean? It's going to make me happy to put Kumo D in a room with a T Grizzly or Kodak Black. I'm going to be happy about that. Mo D ain't got to rap with them if you want to, but I think that they need to hear some of them life skills, because a lot of times they don't hear our life skills except for on social media, and that's not cool, because we supposed to be family and we they daddies. So what we look like just communicating that way. We might have to communicate with Young Thug that way because we ain't got no other way to communicate with Thugger right now. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But somebody else, we can actually talk to Key Glock right now. You know what I'm saying? We can actually talk to Roddy Ricch right now. We can actually talk to Rod Wave right now. We can actually talk to Glorilla right now. You know what I mean? And so that's part of the effort of Stop Self-Destruction, along with the idea of making sure that people are clear of what the pain is out there. You know, opioid addiction is pain. A lot of teen pregnancy is pain. Gun violence is pain. Suicide is pain. And these things, we don't know about them until they kill themselves. Right? And that's not cool because we're not getting to them quick enough. You know what I mean? And so that's what we want to do. And stop being absentee fathers, man. For real. Like step up to the plate.
Yeah.
That's every one of my peers. And they know how I get down.
That's good. Not enough people
That's
talk
dope.
about
That's
mental
dope. We
health.
can't wait to see more of this movement.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Facts.
And yeah, not enough people talk about mental health, and especially guys. Guys don't get a chance to talk about mental health. So when I see it happening, it's good.
Hey, listen. Let me tell you something that happened to me. So you notice the first Stetson Sonic video was technically Africa, right? We had not had a physical video before Africa. Let me tell you how Africa came about. A guy named Danny Schechter, he's dead now, but you can look him up. Incredible guy. A guy named Danny Schechter, the news dissector. He used to work for ABC 2020, right? The publicist at Tommy Boy took us to Danny's house up in Lincoln Center, which is where the ABC studios are, and a lot of even the soap opera actors and stuff used to have apartments. We go to Danny's crib. It's VCR days, right? He puts on this VCR about apartheid. And in this VCR, we shown the necklacing where they take a tire and put it around somebody's neck with gasoline in it and light it up, right? They showing us all of this wicked stuff that's going on in South Africa about apartheid. I'm going to your point about talking about something. He shows us this video. This video is incredibly sad. He stops the video. He looks at me. He says, Daddy-o, why y'all not talking about this? Ain't that what rappers do? Immediately, me and Fuquan go to write this record. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's the same kind of challenge like what you're talking about. We need to talk. Ain't that what rappers do, though? I mean, ain't that what rappers do? Like we were supposed to always be the voice in the wilderness. We was also always supposed to be the, what's that thing they call? Bullhorn, whatever they call that thing. That bullhorn thing. We was always supposed to be that.
Megaphone.
And so, megaphone, yes. We was always supposed to be that, man. You know what I mean? So we just, I'm not telling you that me and Chuck has stopped, because we haven't. Okay? If you check out record, we haven't stopped. However, we want to make it a little more vibrant and involve more people. You know what I mean? And that's kind of sort of from the last couple of years that me and Chuck been messing around with Spit Slam and all of that, and noticing, man, we can't just win as Scotty and Mike. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna need somebody else on the team in order to win. You know what I'm saying? And so we want to involve people.
A recent guest on our show we had, Prince, I might be stealing your question. A recent guest that we had on the show, E-Love. Do you cross paths with them being Chuck D's buddy as well?
Right. I mean, we talk, not a lot, but we talk.
Okay. You also had the new song, or recently a new song, Drummer Man. The video was great. It kind of reminded me of like that Will Smith movie. I Am Legend, I think it is. It kind of reminded me of that. Good song too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
What was it like working with Nicotina on drugs?
Oh man, that was incredible. Like that's my guy. You know what I mean? So like, I can't say I came up to Andre Nicotina because he probably came up to me, right? I was rapping before him. But like, it's a couple of joints. Like for instance, when Rock the Bells asked me to do what's this thing Rock the Bells does? They call it the Fab Five or something like that. And they ask you to do 5 rap records or whatever, right? Train with No Love was my number one, because I feel like that's the best beginning, middle, and end rap record ever. That is and I've heard some great stories. The Nas record where he's the bullet, that's a good one. But that Train with No Love is so incredible, yo. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to work with Nicotina because I knew his wordplay, and he gave me exactly what I wanted. I knew his wordplay was going to be crazy. You know what I mean? My pastor did a bump in the strip club, that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew he was going to give me like Nicotina. You understand what I'm trying to say? And that, I mean, like I said, man, I work with my favorite rap. Like I'm a little different than most New Yorkers. Definitely, if you want to call me an old schooler, I'm a lot different than most old school cats, because what I gravitate toward, besides for the stuff that raised me like Rodney C and them, is not really what everybody else gravitates toward. Because I'm such a big fan of the fact that hip hop expanded beyond the 5 boroughs. I'm like before he died, Breed and Flint, that was one of my guys.
Yes.
That's like favorite MCs. You know what I mean? Like, and I made Breed know, and I spoke about him in my records and all of that. You know what I mean? Because what he was doing wasn't nothing that LA was doing, nothing Houston was doing. Nobody was doing what he was doing. And I want, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm such a big fan of that. Like, when it comes and it's just like, whoa, this is just you, bro. Like, this ain't got nothing to do with us. Yes, it's rap, but it ain't got, you know what I'm saying? I'm such a huge fan of that expansion. So the same thing with Nicotina. Nicotina is Bay Area, but that's straight Sacramento, bro. That is not Oakland. That's not Richie. That's not Forte. You understand? That's not 40. That's Sac. Yeah, and I love that.
Shout out Richie Rich too. That's a guest on the show.
It's like being in Portland and listening to Cool Nuts. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing.
I got two more questions I wanted to shoot. Prince, you go ahead first though.
All right. So I wanted to, go back because I remember you said your face was on Midnight Marauders, and I got this right. And I think you're up top with Chuck D. Yeah, Chuck D. And shout out to Mr. Chuck D because I'm part of the Hip Hop Alliance with Curtis Blow and Chuck D and a lot of people off of Clubhouse. So how was it being a part of that, man? Like. How did that all come about too with the Midnight Marauders? Like, who hit you back? Like, did Tip hit you up?
What's interesting is this. I say this all the time, and it's interesting that they both records on Jive, Self-Destruction in that record. No disrespect to us, and when I say us, I mean producers, rappers, performers. But when you speak about the first Self-Destruction, I'll be totally amiss and like a dickhead. I mean, just a straight dickhead without mentioning Ann Carly and without mentioning Nelson George, because they help put things together. A lot of times people talk about the hip hop breaking up or some of the things going wrong with us and all of that kind of stuff. The only thing wrong is that we stopped dealing with teams. Right? We stopped dealing with teams. In the beginning, I tell people this all the time. We had total departments inside of record companies, and publicity and promotion was not the same company. Do you understand what I'm saying? And neither was marketing. So marketing, publicity, and promotion, 3 different departments. Now with the internet, people try to make it sound like it's one thing. It's not. Okay? And so I'm saying that to say that Ann Carly was instrumental in a whole lot of things that went down around Jive, and helping out with all of that particular situation. So it wasn't like, yes, we know Q-Tip, we know Shaheed, God bless the dead, we knew Fife, but we didn't get a call from Q-Tip or Fife or Shaheed. We got a call from Jive. You see what I'm trying to say? And so it's the same thing that we say now, which is why, we work with people like Teresa and Opposition and all that. It's difficult, bro, to be an artist and you out here I'm an artist, I'm supposed to be doing my own artwork too. Like, what? Like, it's so that's what gets so weird now versus then. And sad to say, but true, but it is true. That's why a lot of songs don't have longevity. Because it might sound good the first 2 days. And guess what? It does get on radio for the first 2 days. And it does penetrate your mind for the first 2 days. And then you forget about it. And you know why? Because you made it all by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You never got a chance to run that by nobody else. Because somebody else would have told you something. It might have been a small little teeny thing that would have gave it lasting ability, that would have gave it some kind of timeless quality or whatever. So, long answer to a short question, but even on this project, that's one of the things that we want to do. We want to show the value of teams and how how that matters to have people come together and do things together.
Why did it take 30 years for you guys to do another group album? Here we go again.
Life. That's all I can tell you is life. I mean, 2016, I picked up the mic again.
You're busy being a boss.
It wasn't It wasn't planned. Got with my partner Lion. We formed Old Dad Truth. I started making records. I started seeing how, okay, don't take this word the wrong way, but I started seeing how easy it was to make records and difference to how I made them when I had a 2-inch tape. You understand? Where I didn't have to stripe Simpty and all of this kind of stuff and wait and, work on my overdubs. Now digitally, I was able to do it. So the convenience of digital put me in a different place. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I could do 4 of these bad boys a year if I wanted to. Where back in the day, I just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? And I'm doing it, doing my Thug Dizzle, doing shows, putting out records or whatever, and on and off. I would talk to the guys. What happened was we did a show in the Netherlands. And before Stetsasonic does any runs, because when we do shows, we usually do runs. We don't usually do one show. It's usually, back to back something. And a lot of times it's not in America. So we get ready to go to the Netherlands. We always rehearse in New York at the same place. And so we was a few days in New York rehearsing, did the show, and then we were a few days in New York coming back before we all flew back out. And during that time, they seen me shoot 2 videos and they just seen me getting busy. Go up to Hot 97, do an interview, all of that. And I think it kind of clicked. And I'm like, see what I'm saying? Because, a lot of my peers, I've had conversations with Shan. I've had conversations with Big Daddy Kane. I've had conversations with Positive K. I've had conversations with Dana Dane. I've had conversations with Grandmaster Caz. I've had conversations with Roxanne Shante. A lot of my peers are really, and they know me, so I don't pull no punches. It feels to me like they shook. Like they're not really sure about putting anything out because they're like, what does that mean? And I'm saying, yo, bro, yo, sis, if you got 15 fans, it means everything to those 15 people. Everything. You understand what I'm trying to say? So yeah. The bottom is that this is what I say to my peers. We want to give parents bragging rights. So here's the deal. You got a little kid. Most of the time, let me explain. When you in the car with your kids, in most cases, they're the ones controlling the aux cord or the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to say? Because most of the time, if you control the aux cord or the Bluetooth, you putting on something from 88, and no disrespect to Daddy-O, but it might sound old. Mm-hmm. And so your kids are kind of like, yeah, Dad, I hear what you're doing, but it sound old. But if you put on something like Drummer Man in your car, they're like, Dad, who's that? And you be like, that's a guy from my time. He's 60 years old.
No, I told you it's a great record. I told you it's a great song.
No, he's not. You understand? So we want to give parents bragging rights. Because here's the key, man, and this is part of Stop Self-Destruction. Like, so part of the things that we do with Stop Self-Destruction, besides for musically, like, I'm going to do these forums in these neighborhoods. Come to a place like Kansas City and do a forum called Grandmamas and Gangsters, right? Where I put gangsters and grandmamas around a round table and working people, the postman, the guy who don't got no job and all of that. And I just I want to tape it. I'm dating myself by taping it, saying tape. I want to record it, right? And I want to and I want to hear what they got to say. Because ain't nobody talking to each other. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that's right.
We so divided, especially musically, we so divided. Now, part of the reason we divided on the hip hop side, and this is just Daddy-O talking his shit, is because a lot of my peers ain't spitting that fire right now. So if you start, if you in 2023 and you go, I don't want to hear that right now, bro. You understand? And that's no disrespect to what it was when it was what it was, but that's not what it is right now. You don't hear me on no trap beats, so it don't mean I gotta sound like Drake or Roddy or none of them either. But I'm still gonna do what I supposed to do and make it sound new enough, because it's honestly, it's a lot easier now to do that than it was in the past.
That's for sure.
You know what I mean?
Right. Basically, being authentic and keeping up with the times too.
Exactly, and trying to unite people, because my reality is, when you end up in the room with some of these young rappers and they see that you spit fire today, you gain their ultimate respect. And now they respect you not just because you was one of their dad's favorite rappers. Because right now you might be getting respect because you was one of their dad's favorite rappers. And they go, oh, my dad used to listen to you. My dad loved your group. Da-da-da-da. That's cool. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But if you impress him now, he'll probably be able to show his dad something that I'm doing now, because his dad ain't on the internet like that. His dad ain't on YouTube like that. His dad ain't on TikTok or Instagram like that. So his dad ain't seeing the new Daddy-O stuff. But he is. You see what I'm trying to say? So that, a lot of times we just want to make a lot of that make sense. Chuck D and I have been on that since the very beginning. Anybody could tell you, Chuck was the first one to put Sir Mix-a-Lot on tour, to put Luke and them on tour, to put Hammer on tour. I mean, first guy to actually offer them stages, because it was like, yo, come on, you hip hop, let's go. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, before anybody else was doing it, when everybody was just super big fans of like, oh, we from New York, it gotta be from New York, no, it gotta just be us. Me and Chuck was like, are y'all bugging right now? Like, are you bugging right now? Like, no, you're gonna do what you're gonna do, and you're gonna be really good at it. And guess what? Shy D gonna be in Atlanta doing what he does, and he's gonna be good at it too. You know what I mean? Get out of that mode, man. Come out of there.
Yeah.
So in order to put this on Instagram, we got to keep her under an hour. So that we got to pretty much wrap this up pretty quick here. I honestly, your stories are great. The stories you told, and I learned a lot about you and what I didn't know already. And I thank Chad for helping make this all happen here too with me and Prince. We've been doing this for maybe since June of 2020. We have 600 episodes.
Nice.
We pumped them out. It is a sports podcast, so I do sports people, I do prospects, I do everything. I do UFC, WWF, a lot of rappers. This has been a really good one, and we're starting something good, me and Chad here. So
right, this is an honor, man. This is a very honor.
Oh yeah,
for the culture. For real, like just being a part of the culture and being a hip hop fan in general, and wanting to know things about you, because I'm that generation now that want more of the the younger ones to understand y'all. So that's why I do what I do. So it's always an honor. You know what I mean?
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, man. It's an honor to be here.
And good album too, because I listened to that album that you had last year too. So I'm rocking it. It's gonna be on rotation.